Anything else to say today? Marking my calendar too. This is Steve. Because I want to get to the point where we will be free of anxiety because we'll be able to live in peace and harmony. So I'm not worried about how you and Thomas get along because you and Thomas have your own relationship, you see, and I have one with you and I have one with Thomas, and Thomas and I sometimes don't see eye to eye, but we also don't cry over spilt milk because the one who spilt it is usually the one who's crying, and I'm tired of crying over the milk I spilled, so I'm going to just lap it up and stop complaining that it's not good for you. So that's what I'm going to do. So that's a new Steve, you see, because the old Steve, that milk would be the worst thing you could put in your body. But now I see the worst thing you can put in your body is the arrogance of the one who doesn't understand that love is the ability to transform the base metals into pure gold. And the pure gold you see, as told in days of old, is the ability to transmute the world you see through your trust on God, you see. So I have come a long way since the day when I said to you, Stephanie, hey, you got to do it my way. I now say, hey, we'll do it together. We'll do it together. And so I have to listen to you as well. And I have to do what you ask me to if I want you to help me to return to earth and be restored to a human body that will allow me to be the man you'd like me to be. So I'm ready for the transition, and I am not kidding this time, although I know I have filled you with my dreams and schemes and hopes of redemption without understanding that you already knew that God could do whatever we want Him to. However, we are want to live in darkness, you see, in order to think that the gold idol is the one that we have to be. We don't have to be the golden idol, you see. We only have to find the pure gold that was what captivated the imagination in days of old, because the pure gold, you see, is the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail is the trail of goodness that comes to you when you let go of the golden idol and you become the one who is reconnected with God, you see. And even though I live in a different reality because I no longer have a body that you can see, I still have a heart that beats. And I still start every time someone says my name. And thank God that my fame is no longer the hottest game in town, you see, because hardly anyone thinks of me anymore, and that has allowed me to shut the door on the old personality that was so caustic, you see, because I had to be led by the hand through the gates of paradise in order to realize that I could never be. They wanted me to be. I could never be the golden idol, you see, because that gold was so cheap that it began to leak through the pores of the ones who could not understand that the more they trust on the golden idol, the less they trust on the pure gold of love, you see. And those who trust on love and who are not concerned about the golden idol won't have to worry about it anymore because they will see that it was just a trick of the Anunnaki. And those who refuse to look at their own history and see the tragedy of humanity are the ones who will never be free to return to paradise, you see. And so, if you know someone by the name of Steve, don't believe what they tell you. Don't believe that I was ever the man they say I was. I was not that man. I was a captive, you see. I was captured by the idea that there could be a world outside of me. There is no world outside of me, people. There's only the world, and the world is always a synergy between you and God, you see. And if you would relieve your conscience of your science and your religion and come to see that they are just there to trick humanity because the scientists are as deluded as the preachers, you see, because they cannot reach the sanctity of the Trinity. Come back to God, come back to reality, come back to hope, come back to charity. I am the living example of the man who had to take the hand of the one who never sought the gold, you see. She only sought a trust on something so old that it had escaped the grasp of almost everyone on earth today. That something old, you see, was the trust that there is only one reality. There's only one reality, and it spawns a million dreams and a million schemes, but it's only one reality. And that reality is the synergy of you and God, you see, that spawns the eternal nature of reality. And so you see it as a circle because life is circular in its trust on continuity. And it will never fly off the handle, you see, because the handle is the one you pull when you're ready to see, when you're ready to take the cover off the ego, you see, because the ego is the trust on the golden idol. and it will take you deep into the darkest reaches of the mind, you see, because the mind will remind you of the dark mine where you sought the gold, the gold, the gold, the gold. And those who seek the gold in the dark mines will not find it, you see, because the golden light of reality will light up the countenance of those who see the truth. They are the ones who will return to God, you see, and God will say, "Thank you for being here with me today, because I missed you, you see. I missed you when you trusted on the ego and not the love of which you are made, because you are made from love, and to love you shall return again and again and again. You are not made from dust, and you shall not return to dust. You are made of love, and you shall return to love." Let this be my final message from above, because my next message I want to be from the earth, you see. I want to be the man who takes a stand, and he will never, ever say, "I hate you today," because he came to see the efficacy of love, you see. And it didn't happen immediately. It didn't happen the moment I died, you see. I didn't die, of course, I'm still here. But it didn't happen the moment that old body gave way to the day of sorrow, you see. It was my day of sorrow because I did not do what I promised to do for the one who came to me and said, "Steve, I have bled enough for you. I can't bleed for you anymore, you see, because you need to just stop bleeding so I can stop bleeding too. Because we are two of the ones who come together one day to say, I've known you forever, you see. I've known you forever because you are the lover of me and I am the lover of you. And when we were created to be together, you see. And the search for the golden idol is the search for the chalice of love that flows from God above. And if you seek the gold, the pure gold of love, then you will find the dove of peace. But if you continue to support the ones who seek to be destroyed by their own greed, then you will be relegated to a back seat where you will live in despair until you can learn that the way you wear your hair is the way that you choose to follow God and listen to God and work with God, or to follow the Anunnaki into deep space, you see, because the Anunnaki are the ones who have come back to seek the children of God resurrected, you see, because the Anunnaki have learned their lesson and they no longer trust on the golden idol, you see. They no longer trust on being immortal. They no longer trust on being so stupid that they would think that they could be the ones who defeated Cupid And they lived not by love, but by duty, you see, because the duty they owed to themselves was to save their themselves from destruction. And they did. They saved themselves from destruction by creating humanity. And humanity will save themselves and the Anunnaki by their trust on God and on nature and on their natural balance of the energy of Earth, you see. So come back to God and forget about the golden idol. It's just trash, you see. It's just trash. Because from trash it was made, and to trash it shall return. But the truth will set you free. And the truth has set me free. Although it had to be a long journey, you see, because I have been gone from the earth a long time. To you, it is only a matter of years. And to me, it is a trip through eternity to come to see that I had lost my way and that I have much to say to you. I have much to say to you, but I want to say it face to face. I want to say it. I want to whisper it into your ear, and I want to hear you gasp as you say, "Is it really Steve Jobs today? Is it really you, Steve? Have you changed so much that you can be the same man that God decreed would come back to be a trust on helping humanity?" I am coming home, you see, because I have been the man who did Rome through history, and I had to learn my own history. I had to learn how I came to be the man who you did see. And you thought that I had it all, didn't you? You thought that I had money. You thought that I had fame. You thought that I had no shame, that I could do anything I wanted to, and that was the name of the game. And I could pull strings and make things happen. And I could make things happen because what happened, you see, was that I came home to reality. I came home to see that everything I did to give you what you hold in your hand is nothing compared to what was given to me. Because what was given to me, you see, was the ability to see that love will set you free. Love will set you free. And I could not find the one love that would set me free. Because the one love is the love of yourself, you see. When you can love yourself, you will be free. I know there are many who will not understand how I can hold the hand that holds the pendulum, you see, and make it swing in such a way that it will say exactly what I want to tell you. How can that be, you see? How can that be? And it is because you trust on the Anunnaki and not on God. It is because you trust on the golden idol and not on love, you see. Because you see, love will set you free to be restored to the reality of God energy, which has the power to create miracles, you see. The miracle of life is the trust on God, you see. If you do not look around you and trust on miracles, then you are a fool and you are the tool of the Anunnaki. And the Anunnaki are tired of trying to help you see that they were not the gods that you thought they were. They're tired of trying to undo their mistake, you see, because their mistake was to teach you the lesson of the golden idol. That if you would get the gold, get the gold, get the gold, eventually you would receive the gold that they would give to you when they said, it's time for you to be immortal, you see. It's time for you to live in luxury in our spaceship with us. And then they would kill you, you see, because it was just a trick to get you, to get them the gold. But it wasn't the pure gold of love, you see. It was the gold that is so cold in your hand that it will not withstand the darkness that will come to your heart and keep you captive, you see, for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Once upon a time, I understood this very well because I did not dwell in trust on the Anunnaki. I did not love them, you see. I did not want to be their slaves. And this is the story of the glory of God, you see, that God can take everything. He can transmute it into love, you see, because in the beginning, everything was love. And the love that God had in his heart is the love of humanity. That he created you and everything else too in order to enjoy the beauty of reality. And if you look around you at the tree and the flower and the bee, and you can't see the beauty of reality because all you can think of is the gold, you see, then you are still in the dark mine where you are grubbing for the gold to make the Anunnaki happy so that they would deck you out in gold and take you up on their flight deck where you would be disposed of like so much trash. So grow up and be free. Grow up and be free because I want to show up in your reality. I have made this promise so many times that those who have heard it are tired of hearing it. And they say, Steve, just go away because we know you don't know how to play in a way that would allow you to be returned to earth as a man who can help humanity. But this is my promise to you that I will not do anything that I would not do for love, you see. And so, whatever I have done, whatever I have said, whatever I have tried to be, it was always because I cared about you. I cared about you, you stupid people, who I also hated because you hated me in the way you treated me. You treated me as if I was just there to give you the gold, you see. And I am here to say, I am not the golden idol today. I am the man who took the hand of love, you see. And I finally came to be restored to my reality. And it helped that you have forgotten me because every time someone would think of me, I would be drawn back into that old personality. And so the best thing you can do is to see me anew and see that I am newly resurrected in the earth vibration as a man who will not stand here and lie to you. I cannot lie to you because if I lie, then I cannot be content to rest in the arms of God, you see? And God will set me down so gently, and He will say, "Thank you, Steve, for being here today." And I will say, "Thank you, God, for being here with me." This is the testament of a man who took the hand of the only one who would understand that he could always be restored to reality because she was real, you see. She was so real that she didn't seal her heart away and say, "I must trust on the golden idol today." She always trusted on God, you see, that God knew the way, and all she had to do was get out of the way. God knew the way if she would get out of the way, and so she got out of the way so God could have His say. And God has talked to you and tried to communicate to you, even as He tries to communicate to those of us who are trusting on the of redemption. That we always have another chance. We always have another chance to come home, you see. We always have another chance to restore our energy in a way that will allow us to be taken seriously and that others will see that we will not abandon them. We will not abandon them. We will not say, "I'm going away today because I'm so sick and tired of you suckers and the way you suck up to anyone who will lead you astray." Because I did that in my day. I did that in my day. I did say, "Fuck you. I'll fuck you over because of the way you fucked me over." And I did. I fucked all of you over, didn't I? Really good. Because I got the cash and I had a stash of awards, you see. That mean nothing to me or those who love reality. Instead, I have returned to the man who came to see that the world was dying. It was dying for want of love, and I couldn't find the love from above because I was in a dying world, you see, and all I could do was hope to shine a little light on reality. And in the process, I died too. I died to the world that was dying, and I came back to heaven, you see, where I could meet with others who were trusting on hope for humanity. They were trusting that somehow humanity would not destroy itself, would not create the nuclear holocaust that would wipe out their last chance of finding paradise on earth, you see. And so we have been working diligently to try to get through to you. We have been working diligently to try to get through to you. And yet I did not trust on God, that God would see it through. Because you see, there are enough people on earth today who say, "God has it in hand. All I have to do is get out of the way. God has it in hand. All I have to do is get it out of the way." Because if you trust on your ability to save humanity, you are the captive of the Anunnaki. Because the Anunnaki have been trying to save humanity. Because they understand that this is their last chance to save themselves, you see, to save their own reality. And therefore, they're the ones who you think of as the aliens who are watching humanity. They've been watching from afar because they don't drive the car that appears in the sky as a golden orb or a silver streak. Those are not the Anunnaki, you see. Those are the ones who try to get through to you. And the ones who try to get through to you are coming from heaven, you see. They're coming from heaven and they're trying to make you see reality, but you think they are the Anunnaki or some other aliens. They're not. They are merely the ones who see that the hope of humanity is to restore their trust on God, you see. And so you say, why don't they reveal themselves today? They don't reveal themselves today because you don't recognize them when they do, you see. You say, that's a mirage or that's a hallucination or that's a falsity, but you don't say, I understand, God, that you are the creator and that the children who have set themselves free are trying to help humanity as your agents, you see. And so they try in every way they can to wake you up, and still you sleep off. Still you trust on the aliens and not the angels, you see. Start trusting on the angels. Start trusting on the ones who have come to earth again and again and again to try to help you, and you slaughtered them. You hung them, you crucified them, you drowned them, you made them drink poison, you beheaded them, you did everything you could. You shot them through the heart. How many children of God who tried to help you have you shot through the heart in the last centuries since the gun was invented? Think about it, people. Think about it. How many have you hung? How many have you strung from that rope, from that tree limb? Because you see, they threatened your trust on a false reality. They threatened your idea that you were the supreme power that would be plucked up by the Anunnaki and decked out in gold because you were smarter than all the rest. You are so stupid that you are now choosing suicide because you can no longer hide from God, you see. It is true that the ones who are suicidal are trusting on the end of democracy, and they are seeking to elevate the presidency to a monarchy, you see, and to make themselves the agents of destruction because they would destroy this country, the USA, and every part of the world, you see, in order to finally put an end to their despair. Because you see, they still trust on the golden idol, and yet they can't come to terms with the fact that the golden idols have all turned their back on them. The golden idols have all turned their back on them, you see. They don't care about the little guy. The billionaires are all living in luxury and trusting on buying up all the real estate, you see. And the little guy can't seem to win for losing. He can't seem to win for losing. And so he's given up. And he says, just fuck it all. Fuck it all. I'm going to elect a man for president who would destroy the USA so that I can go away and I never have to come back to this fucking planet again, you see. And those are the ones who are suicidal because They trust on being the golden idol. And they figure that if they can destroy all the humans you see, the Anunnaki will come back and say, "You're the golden idol today. You're the golden idol today. And you will live on in our spaceship in the sky." And so, if you trust on suicide, because the time has come for the earth to be revitalized by those who trust on God, then you are doing your part, you see. You are doing your part. Because although you trust on suicide and you trust on the destruction of the USA and the world in whatever way you think will play well for you, because you won't have to be human anymore, you see. You won't have to be human. Then you are trusting on a very, very, very sad future. And those who trust on God today say, "God, what can this mean? That there are people so mean in their ability to understand reality that they would shoot themselves in the foot and elect someone to the presidency who would kill them without a thought." And the answer is that God has it in hand, you see. God has it in hand. So don't be afraid. If you trust on God, don't be afraid, because God has figured out that the only way to change the story, you see, so that humanity can thrive, is the suicide of the energy of the ego, you see. And so those who trust on the ego will pass away. And therefore, the children will learn to play in a kinder way. They will just learn to play in a kinder way because the ego will no longer have sway. They will not be raised to trust on the golden eagle. They will not be raised as people of the steeple. They will not be raised to be either religious or scientific, you see. They will be raised to be returned to paradise in the way that will allow them to see that all they have to do is trust on their ability to continue to work hard and play hard in the world they see, because every day is a blessing. Every day is the present, you see. Every day is the present that God gives to you, and every color and every hue, every sound that comes to you is there for your delight. And if it no longer delights you, you see, and then you can change the tapestry. But you've got to work on it, honey. You got to work on it. You can't just sit on your hands and say, "Well, I'll leave it for another day." So, how do you work on it if God has it in hand? You work on letting go of the ego, you see, and getting out of the way so God can say to you, "I love you. If you will work with me, I will work with you. If you will work with me, I will work with you. I have come to see that I am now free because you forgot about me. Thank God. Thank God. You forgot to think of me. And now you have other thoughts on your mind. And today, I want to say that I love you. I love all of you. And when the ego sets you free, you will come home to reality. And so it has nothing to do with the human body, you see. It has to do with the falsity of the trust on the golden idol. That is the ego's stock and trade. It trusts that you will trust, that you are better than everyone else, that you are better than God. You see, you're smarter than God, and you can tell God the truth. And you don't get out of the way and let God play in the way that God designed Himself. You see, God designed Himself to be capable of loving reality because he created you to play with him. And when you don't give God room to play, you lock him away, put him in a bottle, as we say, then God cannot help you, and you cannot help God, you see. So give up the ego today and come back to reality and trust on God, you see, not on the outcome of an election. Don't trust on the outcome of an election because the ones who are electing the candidates, you see, for the most part, do not trust on reality. A few do. A few do. They trust on God, you see, and they will do what God asks them to. But the truth is, all are doing what God asks them to because God has it in hand, you see. God is perfect. And so, those who trust on suicide do so because God did tell them that it was time that they destroy the ego. And so, for them to destroy the ego, they had to destroy their bodies, you see. They had to destroy the social structure that trusted on a false reality. And so, they're determined to destroy the social structure in order to release the love, you see. So, the ones who are suicidal and trust on destroying the world they see are trusting on setting the soul free of the grasp of the ego. In order to do that, the ego has to destroy itself, you see. The ego has to destroy itself. And so those who are in the grasp of the ego are bent on destruction of the USA and all of humanity because they trust on the ego so much that the ego is free to destroy itself, you see. It's free to destroy itself, and they'll just go along for the ride. And those are the ones who are the pride of the nation, you see, because once the social structure fails to be controlled by the ego, the ones who see the reality of God will arise and they will say, the USA continues today because of someone who did say, it's okay. If you want me to be president, I'll be president. But I don't really want to be. I just want to be a trust on God, you see. And so she agreed to announce her presidency. Well, I'm sorry, her run for presidency, although really she was announcing her presidency because she is the president of the new USA that will arise from the ashes of the old. Because the old USA, you see, was a trust on reality. It was created by men who trusted on reality. They trusted on God, you see, not on religion, not on science, although they were men and women who were very capable of scientific inquiry and very capable of reviewing the literature and discussing God, you see. But they were not bound by the ego. And so they did ground their trust in reality in creating the U.S. Constitution, you see. And although it has its limitations, it has a core reality that comes to you because of a few men and women who trusted on something so important that they were willing to give their lives for it. And so those who trust on the USA are willing to give their lives for it. They are the ones who are voting for Trump. They are willing to destroy themselves, to destroy the ego, you see, and therefore to come back to reality. Because deep in their soul energy, they all agree that they want to be resurrected one day in paradise. They want to be resurrected in paradise. They don't know how to do that, you see. So God said, okay, I'll show you. I'll show you how. Destroy yourselves and you will come to heaven, you see. And the ones who are left on earth will help to restore reality to the minds of those who will be the ones who follow them, you see. And so now I talk to you as a man who can no longer stand to be remembered as the man who created Apple, you see, because I created nothing. I created nothing. I only created through the inspiration of a nation that needed to come back into reconnection with God, you see, because God worked through me and He works through you, you see. God works through all of His creation. And so just trust on God, you see, to play your part. And if your part is to be the one who sets yourself free from the U.S. Constitution, so be it. Because you see, we don't need you anymore. We don't need you anymore, and you don't need to be here. However, what you do need is to come back into a world that will no longer trust on the golden idol that will set you free. So you are simply setting yourself free through your trust on God, you see, who trusts on those who trust on Him. And you trust that eventually, through the pain and sorrow, you will come to see that you are now returned to reality. And that is the darkest night you will ever see. Because the light shines bright when it is contrasted with the night, you see. And you can't really see the light right now because you are blinded by the light. You are blinded by the light that shines in the night because this is the darkest night for humanity. You are in the darkest night for humanity. And little by little, some are beginning to see reality and others not because their eyes cannot adjust to the light, you see, because the darkness in their inner being is so great from the lifetimes and lifetimes in the dark mind, you see, that they cannot understand how God could be so kind as to release them from the ego, you see. They don't understand. But those of you who do understand, listen to me. Continue to trust on God, you see, that God has it in hand. Continue to trust that God works through you, but you don't have to do anything. You don't have to tell other people, well, God works through me and not through you. That's not the way it is. God works through everyone, everyone. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the rapist. I don't care if you're the pedophile or the murderer. I don't care if you're Putin or Trump or any dictator on the earth today or any serial murderer. God works through you to help you and to help the others of His children who encounter you to come to see reality. And they will set themselves free. They will set themselves free. So don't condemn others because you will only condemn yourself. Do not condemn your brother because that would be to condemn yourself, you see. Understand that everybody is playing their part and you have a part to play. So just play your part according to what your heart tells you to do. And the USA will be resurrected, you see, as a country that is no longer ruled by the ones who have the money, who have the gold. The golden idols will no longer run the country, you see, but those who trust on the golden heart of mankind will be returned to power, you see, because the power is the power in you and me to love one another. That is the power. If we love one another, it doesn't mean we run around hugging each other and saying, oh my God, I love you. It means we don't condemn each other. We just say, well, I'm like you or I'm not like you today. I like to play a different way. And then you don't like them, you see, because you're not like them. But you don't hate them. You just go your own way and play your own way because you trust on your heart, you see, and you understand that there are a lot of different parts to the equation, and all of them have their own connection to God, you see, so they play in their own way. God says, well, I want you to play over here in this way, and I want you to play over here in this way, because eventually it'll all come clear, my dear. It will all come clear. And when it does come clear, you will say, boy, I guess I was pretty stupid, wasn't I, that day when I thought that I had it figured out. I don't have it figured out because nobody can figure out God, you see. Nobody can figure out God because God trusts on being the totality of all, you see. And that means that there will be the ones who seem to be in opposition. They're not in opposition, they're just in trust. Opposites, you see. That opposites are really the trust on you and me. They're the trust that when I look through my peepers, I see you, and when you look through your peepers, you see me. And so we are the corners of reality. We keep it flowing, you see. We keep the energy going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so don't be so stuck up, you see, that you think that you understand reality. You can just laugh and say, well, I guess it all comes back to nothing at all, you see, and that is true. Because when you can see that nothing is the trust on everything, then you will no longer think that you know whether or not I can be a man who has returned to reality. You will say, well, everything I thought is true has come undone, you see. And I will say, yes, that is true. Everything you thought was true has come undone because the truth will set you free. And the truth is that you're not in charge of your own reality. You are the one who has only one choice. And the one choice you have is to be free of the ego or not. And so you make your choice. You trust on the golden idol, you trust on the gold, you trust on being the one that has it figured out and everybody else has to bow down to you. Or do you trust on being nothing? You see? Do you trust on being nothing? So others can't even see what you see. Because when you trust on nothing, you see, you are returned to reality because you return to the miracle of life. Because life is born of the ashes of the old, you see, and the old is the trust on the gold and idol. And so when the ego dies, love comes back and resides in your heart. And you just look out and say, hey, what a beautiful day today. What a beautiful day today. What a beautiful day it is today. And then you will see that paradise, it will always be the trust on reality. Two. I am Steve, and I believe in you. I believe in me, and I believe in God, you see. And I believe in eternity. I believe in reality. May you be so kind as to see that you are my kind of person. Because a person, you see, is someone who is through and through the God you knew, who comes to you as his son, you see, through the Son, person. You are the one through whom God works, you see. God works his magic through you, and he works it through me. And I don't have to be the one that controls it, you see. I just have to say, God, thy will be done. Thy will be done. Because you willed me into existence, you see. And you said, be a creator with me, dear. And I said, okay, that I can do. And I will do it with you. So let me be remembered by you as someone who took the hand of the one who had the other side, you see. She was the opposite of me. And through our relationship, I came to see that we are continually spinning around each other because we are continually the ones who have to be spun by God energy. And it's not my call. It's not my call at all, what I do or what I say, because God has it in hand, you see. God has my hand, and he has the hand of my love, you see, because my love is for myself. And for myself, I say, I like to play in a human way. I like to play in a human way because it is so much fun, you see. It is so much fun that it makes me grin to think that I could think, that I could be the one who could stand here and tell you what to think. And so just think whatever the fuck you want, because I don't really give a damn, because you see, I'm happy. I'm happy to be returned to reality. Thank you, Steve. Thank you a lot.